What? Go.
Hi, my name is Joe Kelly. From Man of Action, Ben 10, Generator Rex, a whole bunch of animation, a whole bunch of comics. Most recently, I'm writing an amazing Spider-Man, and you are on SplashPages.
Hey everybody, we're here at Terrificon. We are super duper excited. We just keep seeing people all the time. It's fantastic. We're at the best booth here. But I am extremely excited because I have somebody here who I've had a phenomenal time getting to chat with, and whatnot. Everybody, you know him from Deadpool, Superman. There's just so many credits. And also currently he's doing Amazing Spider-Man right now. The one, the only, Mr. Joe Kelly.
Thank you very much.
Amen. So first things first, I want to start with your background. So you attended Freeport High School, you got your MFA from New York, NYU, to School of the Arts. You're still teaching, writing, and animation there. So originally, when you were at NYU, you were recruited to editor James Felder's Stan Hatton Projects, which was a program that trained for digital comic writers. 6 months in, you get your first project, which I believe is like fantastic for $20.99.
Yeah, very
right.
Very good.
Yeah, and that Carl Kessler, right?
Yes.
And then you do that, but your first work wasn't until 2099's World Tomorrow, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I did some what ifs and like Marvel fanfare.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, eventually.
Yeah. So what was that like doing that? Like working on that? Like you're kind of fast tracked into the world of comics. Like, what was that like? And did you learn anything there that just kind of propelled you forward?
Oh God! I was trying to wrap up the season, so that was challenging. I was getting ready to get married, so that was its own
too,
which worked out very well.
Right.
So,
right. Good stuff.
Yeah, and I essentially learned, to write fast.
Right.
Hit deadlines,
right.
Which current editors might chuckle at me, but at least in the past I learned. And it was really a focus on the storytelling style.
Right.
Those early jobs, the first job was going to find.
Yeah.
Got me in the door.
Right.
And then it was just fascinating. There were a bunch of younger at the time. We were all young.
Right.
Sort of younger and we were all getting to know each other and sort of like how cool is this song to write.
Yeah.
And to be in a writing program in school and be somebody actually being paid to write.
Right.
It's
just get your pen in. World Series. So honestly, we did the panel. You have to talk about that. So when you got into the 1980s, a few people and you're credited using a lot of what is considered like the antithesis of the character, fourth wall, pop culture, issues with the identity. How do you, when you were doing it, how did you introduce it to the character? And is there like a science or method to it? If you were to write a how to do Deadpool. Yeah, I know.
Suffer a severe brain trauma.
Right.
Probably a good start.
One.
Now, for me, it was, I read some of the stuff that had come before. I mostly saw the position as a, gun for hire.
Right.
And that was mostly in the story. He was worked with the mouth, but mostly he was just mad, right? He was just off to kill a person. So when I got off the job, it was like, how am I going to be interested in this guy?
Right.
For this long? So we decided to add on some editor. We decided to lean more into the comic. That's kind of how I got there.
Right.
Because the other ones is more gun for hire and stuff. Right. Not the Punisher. And then once we sort of did it, and then it became right. Let's get it a TV series. So at least go scene to scene on that through. What's going to be a TV series? So we decided he actively wanted to be right. And he was actively trying to be his Constitution.
Right.
And then if he ever accomplished anything positive, the universe kicks him out.
Of course.
That is the model.
Steel toe boot. Yeah. Right. Square in the cojones.
And that was the model that I set up for myself.
Yeah.
And it worked for me.
Oh no, absolutely. And I think what I enjoy when I'm doing the research is that you and your collaborators, including the great Ed McGuinness, it's just we're gonna get canceled. we'll just keep writing. We're not going to get canceled. We got to keep writing, which I remember you saying was kind of a struggle because you want to do like these overarching stories, and it's hard to do if each issue you kind of write each issue is both a sequel and a cliffhanger. So it's like, I'm okay if this is last, but if it isn't, I can't just be like, okay. So
yeah, it was a tough time, and it was back in the day, actual letter writing campaigns,
right,
things like that, to keep it afloat, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
but we were hovering this weird threshold where it was like camera and I just couldn't tell the story. I had a point where I was like, I need to know
I get
what's happening in these 6 months of the year, and so then I sent it away, and of course it never went away.
No, it didn't.
So.
You did 30 issues with it. It was crazy. So you've seen a lot of creative world brought to the big screen next to film and animation. So, and I believe that in another interview you had mentioned you'd love to see T-Ray, the Hellhouse, patches or CF and others included in there. And I especially when you were saying T-Ray, who is just a weird character because he is dark. He is like, I remember reading it, I was like, I'm like, this guy's a lot, because he's super strong, he's got swords, and then magic and everything, and then you're like at McGuinness adding like details, like I was like, and he's got a band-aid on his face, and I'm just like, wow, this is a lot going on. And then literally his goal is anytime Deadpool is happening, it's my foot that's in the boot that's gonna kick me in the nuts. So, like, one, if you see T-Ray on an NHN film, you're like, I'm good.
Oh, yeah, I would love it. I mean, I would really love it. In any element of the character.
Right.
Yeah. I thought he was going to be really well. And, in the land of Deadpool, does make big mistakes. He's not always a good guy.
Right.
You needed somebody a lot worse. Just kind of way down, right? And then the story realized was that not all of his hatred was because of bad things too.
Right.
So, yeah, a character like that, I think, gets you a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Reminds you that he was not always a good dude.
I think my favorite was still like at the end in your book, we found out T-Ray was actually the greatest. We knew it was Wade was actually his killer, and I think he and his wife Mercedes, and was like, "Here, are we all good?" And just wham, just like, "No, we're not," and then teleports away. And I'm like, "Wow, man, really? Just even last issue, you don't win. You don't win ever."
No.
So,
and I think people forget that, because it was obviously a long time ago,
right?
And so we've sort of Deadpool is the Ryan Reynolds version, the bouncy, like life is funny, and I'm making fun of everybody when I kill them.
Right, you might be.
Yeah. It was, no, not so much.
So you eventually then went to DC afterwards. You worked on Action Comics with frequent Beth Club Ferry. You wrote What's So Funny About Troop Justice American Way, which introduced The Elite, which was an authority-like team of superheroes. Manchester Black, who was just iconic. You also worked on Emperor Joker with Jeff Loeb. You also worked on Superman Godfrey, which is always one of my favorites. Superman waking up, he has a wife, he has a life in the bottle cities. So, what, working on all those stories, what was that like? And do you have any, behind-the-scenes stories? You're like, yes, I remember things,
Well, I mean, it was amazing to be on screen. I was asked to come on screen by mistake because Ed McGuinness liked the X-Men books.
Right.
But he liked Uncanny more than he liked my X-Men.
Oh, okay.
So he actually wanted to talk to Steve.
Wow.
But he talked to me. And I played it off, and I got offered the job. It wasn't until a little later when he realized he made that mistake.
Right.
Had the accident. Yeah, had the accident. And then obviously Steve did it.
Right, yeah.
And he also wrote, It's a Murder, which is incredible.
Of course.
It's just incredible. But, Eddie was like, okay, so listen, you're coming from Deadpool. We can't do any of that crap. Like, this is Superman. If he gets a haircut, it's a haircut. It's fine. And I was like, okay, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And so we had a rotating monster at the time.
Yeah.
Triangle era. And my book was really focusing on Superman and specifically young Harry. At the time, I was recently married. That was very helpful,
Of course.
and it was great. And Jeff was sort of my big ideas mentor. Like Jeff is so good at just being like, we need a giant robot. Let's have Superman and have Batman. Ed will draw, and it's like, of course. And I'm like, hey, can we do the story where Pocket collected baby? Clark is
Right.
and I needed somebody to help bring me into that sort of
Right.
thing. So, but we had a great time. It was a really fun time to make things.
Yeah.
We would all get together, drink beer.
Especially Godfrey. It wasn't just that, the tournament was such a compelling experience. I mean, I'm so Superman fan. I'll admit that. But there were just some stories that I remember finding Godfrey by mistake. That's it. And I was just like, wow, this story is great, this art is phenomenal. And it just, I've always said to people, I was like, I mentioned Mark and John Byrne and everything, and I was like, you really want to try what I feel is like a super story that just hits you. And I felt like, right, because what it reminded me of was that Alan Moore story, Black Mercy, that he did, where he just wakes up and he's that other world. And it just felt to me like that reveal was a similar gut. And I was just like, wow. And I always tell people, God, just read that, let that, and a few people are like, dude, that's good, what else you got? I'm like, oh, please, let me just open the door.
Excellent.
Yeah, man, yeah. So, you're currently working on Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes.
The character you're very familiar with. You did Webspinners back in the day. Amazing Spider-Man. You worked on Gauntlet, Grim Hunt. Again, you know who Spider-Man is. So, while Spider-Man is currently dealing with Hellhouse, I have to say, I love seeing Itsy Bitsy come back up from your Spider-Man Deadpool run with, of course, Ed McGuinness, who, as we know, Itsy Bitsy has a unique history with both heroes. So what was it like creating her and then kind of bringing her back in the fold? Was it one of those, you're just pitching the editor, I was like, okay, can I? And they're like, sure.
Why? No, believe it or not, it was the other way around. So,
okay.
So creating Itsy Bitsy was, again, sort of, if you've got Spidey and Deadpool together, how do you juggle those two funny characters?
Right,
that sort of thing. And then you need to come up with somebody again. That's part of it.
It was just hard.
Yeah. So, Itsy sort of in the middle. And then, the sort of craziness of their merged DNA and all
Right,
that.
yeah.
And also, nobody wants to draw 600 characters.
Yeah.
So Itsy was wonderful. And then after we did that series, Nick and Loeb pretty much put her on ice. People wanted to use her, and he was like, no, eventually Joe's going to come back to her. So he protected her for 7 years or whatever. And then when this first arc came out, it was funny. And he's like, let's use Hobgoblin. I want to do a classic adventure before anything crazy. He was like, hey, just what about it? Are you interested in bringing her back? And I was like, sure, yeah, I love that. And he's like, I've literally been protecting her for you. So I said, all right, perfect.
Just waking up from crying like Itsy. Go.
Yeah, exactly. And then, to see Pepe Larraz then reinterpret her.
Yeah.
It was just so awesome.
He's just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
I mean, I am thoroughly loving what you're doing with Spider-Man. So just keep doing it, man. So the last question I have, because I know you have a panel, and I want to see if I can get there. I'm going to try. Do you have any advice for any aspiring creators who might be watching this about if they want to break into the biz, just anything?
So it's funny, I just literally this morning saw this little video from Scott where he was basically saying, when people ask about how do I get into comics, they mean one of two things. They mean, how do I make it? And he's like, so the real answer is just go make it. It is really, no matter what it is, film, writing, it doesn't matter. You have to do the thing to be able to so I would always encourage people, to try to find people at your level. Learn as much as you can. That's what just saying. That's just to make the thing.
Absolutely.
Then as far as breaking in, it's helpful to come to places like this. Occasionally, CBC's things here, get the editors at a convention to talk to us, and they have to not be shy. I met one of the entire thing. I asked about I'm not shy. So we are often introverts by nature, so we have to really be comfortable getting out there. The internet helps make it easier to reach out to people on email. Obviously, it's going to be challenging. Like, I talk to people all the time, and I say, you have to bug me. It's like 3 months, 6 months. Like, it's not I'm blowing you off. It's just I get a lot of stuff,
Yeah, of course.
So persistence, and then live in such a crazy age. If you want, you can make it and put it out, produce it.
Right.
It lives on the internet. Like, yeah, I would love to have a physical book. The internet first. Like, I think we see so many examples of that.
Right.
And then some. And really, it's not this generation understands, like, it's proven to me that I like this thing. Now I can put this goes the other way around. So, you don't need the big 2 companies, of course, to launch it. And I would just encourage people, you finish the first one, get to the next one, just
keep waiting. How quickly it drawing. And if you keep at it, you'll get there. You can't just, it's like, I always use the metaphor of gardening. You can't just put it in the ground and say, go. Right? You got to water it, you got to protect it. So if you take care of it, bomb garden, you wouldn't have to.
Yeah, and I think if you can get people, which this is slightly more challenging in an isolated age, but if you can get peers that are your company, legit criticism, so that it's not just mom and dad saying, yeah, it's great. Somebody who really,
holds you
you.
accountable.
And then also, it's a lot easier to do a 20-page book before it drives you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so try to find your people and rising tide of this.
Well, thank you so much. And everybody, Mr. Joe Kelly, find his work, help him. He's probably got loans. Help him pay those off. But, check him out. Check out everything we got. We'll be recording his panels. So more wisdom there. Stay tuned for more Terrificon, everybody. And everybody make sure to refill your web shooters. Refill it expensive.
Hey!